Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth? Councilor Angeloni?
Here.
Councilor Caprio?
Here.
Councilor Diamond?
Here.
Councilor Esposito? Councilor Fawnin?
Here.
Councilor Fucci? Councilor Rose?
Here.
Okay. All right. Thank everyone for coming out on this dreary evening. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the October 1st, 2013 WPCA Town Council meeting?
So moved with the following correction on page 7. In executive session, both of the motions, the vote should be 6-0. Councilor Duty had left the meeting at the beginning of executive session, so there was only 6 of us. So both of those should be changed to 6-0, and the adjournment motion should be changed to 6-0 also.
Do I have a second?
There's no second. Second.
Moved by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Councilor Fawnin, with the correction on page 7. Roll call.
Sorry. Same thing?
Yep, same thing.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wentworth? Councilor Angeloni?
Yes.
Councilor Caprio?
Yes.
Councilor Diamond?
Abstain.
Councilor Fawnin?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
You have to abstain.
Abstain. Wrong meeting.
May I have a motion to approve the November 12th, 2013 special organizational meeting, WPCA Town Council?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Councilor Fawnin. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Angeloni, Councilor Angeloni?
Yes.
Councilor Caprio?
Yes.
Councilor Diamond?
Yes.
Councilor Fawnin?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda and move one item from executive session, item under pending litigation, up on the agenda and do it now because Attorney Yolen is here and it'll be a brief executive session. That's the only item we're going to do at this point.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Councilor Caprio. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Councilor Angeloni?
Yes.
Councilor Caprio?
Yes.
Councilor Diamond?
Yes.
Councilor Fawnin?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
If everyone could just leave the room, it'll only be a few minutes. I apologize for the inconvenience. And we need to shut off the mic. All right, we could turn the recording on.
Are we?
Tim, don't you want to know the vote?
I'm trusting you, Joe.
Okay.
Big mistake.
All right, we're back in session. Have a motion to accept.
Joe, you're good at wording these.
I move to approve the settlement as presented by council in executive session.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Fawnin, seconded by Councilor Angeloni. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Councilor Angeloni?
Yes.
Councilor Caprio?
Yes.
Councilor Diamond?
Yes.
Councilor Fawnin?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Water Pollution Control Authority
Thanks, Tim.
meeting agenda. Thanks, Tim. Item 3, correspondence, citizens' statements. Item 4, unfinished business, discussion and action. Item 5, new business. Item A, request to connect to additional apartment in Building H, 1739 Foxen Road.
Good evening. The applicant
family member contacted me. He has pneumonia, so he's not able to make it tonight. He requested the table to the next meeting.
Oh,
Consideration, he'd just like to be here when the discussion occurs.
Make a motion to table.
second.
Moved by Counselor Caprio, seconded by Counselor Angeloni to table item A. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Caprio,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Item B, operation and maintenance services, sanitary sewer collection system.
Good evening again. Our sanitary sewer collection system, since about 1999, has been maintained through contractual operations. We used to have a one-man department, and that just didn't work. We complied with any OSHA requirements, and there were a lot more issues. So we made that switch back in 1999. We've had a couple different contract vendors since then. The last firm that's been there, when we went out for proposals, it was a 3-year agreement with 2 potential 3-year extensions, and we granted them those 2 3-year extensions. So their timeframe is coming up in 2014, so we've got to re-advertise and re-solicit for proposals for contract operations. The market changed a little bit. There was, a lot of those firms have come and gone. There's a couple that are out of business that I'm aware of. But again, in terms of the overall solicitation process, what we did before was we went out for proposals, we developed a scope, we asked for a fee, we asked for qualifications. Because certainly, when you get into this type of operation, qualification is key. I think I put in there, it's not like a cleaning service for a building where you come and go and somebody can come in and just sort of take over. It's pretty detailed, it's technical. We have 6 sanitary sewer pumping stations, we've got metering stations, all the electrical equipment, mechanical equipment. We've got about 40 miles of sanitary sewer lines that have to be flushed periodically. So it's an important operation, and we certainly do want somebody in there that has the qualifications and wherewithal to do the work. And when I threw out there, just on the second page, for consideration discussion, I don't need action right away, but I'm trying to get the thought process going, so when we start preparing solicitations, which will come back before you in final format, there's an agreement in terms of the form that we go out for proposals or qualifications. And what I did throw out there, a couple things. We have the old request for proposal, like we did back in 2004, 2005, which we listed the services and basically looked for price and qualifications. Another one is the welcome request for qualifications and pick a contractor and then try to negotiate a fee. We have a purchasing ordinance that certainly we have to comply with, and at this point, I'm trying to throw that out for discussion, for thought. We can check with John in terms of any procedure, just to make sure we comply with the requirements of the ordinance. It is more, the question is it a professional service or not? Some of those things that, again, I just like to throw it out there, so there's a firm agreement in terms of what format we move forward for solicitations, and then I can get going on that.
Kurt, how often do they maintain? Is this like a monthly or?
Pump stations, there's a routine, a couple times a week, basically, is what they have to do. A lot of it's all electronic. They come out there and make sure everything's working. There's alarms that go back to they actually go back to their call if there's any problem out there.
So this company has access, there's an alarm hookup directly to
Yeah,
them?
it's basically a dialer. They get
Right.
dialed up, or they get notified if there's a pump failure, high water level in the pump stations, anything like that. Collection system, the way it's in our agreement, it's basically it flush lines once within a 5-year cycle.
And then pumps, those type of things, parts they have
Parts,
readily available?
The way our agreement currently works right now, if there's a problem with the pump, you know, it breaks down, they fix it, we pay for the part, they do the repair. We have built
Under
in our
contract.
agreement that there's a repair item for equipment. Otherwise, potentially what you could be doing is, you could say, it's all yours, and you cover the cost, you could pay a lot more for it.
Right.
It's a pretty fair arrangement.
What-
Currently, we're very happy with our operations. Our contractors have been very good. And we've had very good success for the last.
And then as we grow, like we're putting in sewers, let's say Gale Drive, they're also part of that as well.
Yeah, that's a minor thing.
Right.
We listed what our system was and with sort of a more or less clause, because we try to identify the lines as best we can, but we have pretty good as-bills. We're on a GIS system, so we have pretty good information. We have a newer system, something like a City of the Haven or some of these older municipalities. They've got a lot more issues.
What happens if a company goes out of business in the middle of our contract with them?
You mean the company we contracted with?
I guess,
The company that we contract
In
with?
other words, a company that we give our work to, okay, say they go out of business after a year, what happens? We have to go get a new company? Is there some type of
we're gonna have to
bond?
go for a new.
Right, is there any type of bond they have to put up or anything, or?
We have insurance. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah, that we should look into
Unfortunately,
that.
we haven't run into that situation.
Right, but-
the potential does exist.
Absolutely.
And that's where the qualifications is such an important thing. Really, in this type of business, you don't want the mom and the pop, because if you have an issue, it could be a potentially catastrophic issue with all sorts of big problems. That's why it's so important to have the routine maintenance of the pumps, the pump
meters.
stations, and the lines, because it's just like taking care of a car. If you keep on top of it, you can minimize or hopefully prevent the problem. If you let go and try to cut a few corners, in the long run, you can pay for it. We certainly don't want to be in that position.
I would look into that if I were you,
Yeah.
and let us know what's going on with
Yeah.
that, because in this economy, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
Even strong companies go out of business.
absolutely. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. We're trying to minimize the uncertainty and protect ourselves as much in the overall situation. Again, I'm throwing it out there for consideration. We can put it on at another meeting. I can talk to John's office in terms of purchasing ordinance, in terms of.
But we've been with them since 1999?
No, we've been with them since 2006.
2006.
We had another firm earlier on, and the service wasn't good. The last one, we basically put it out with 3-year renewal options. And because they basically, the firm we have right now actually was the lowest price firm. I think their number even now, 9 years later, was lower than all the other firms submitted initially for the initial year. And then basically, we just rolled with the consumer price index increase over the years.
Why don't we simply approve the request for proposal, subject to the approval of form and content to the satisfaction of the town engineer and the town attorney, and be done with it?
I mean, my intent would be to bring back, and really I'm talking form. We go with proposals, we go for qualifications and negotiate. My thinking was you're going to want to go with the proposals, so we have a number up front and we have a fine scope. But I thought I'd throw it out there just part of the discussion.
I think the current contract, which was approved by my office, does have extensive public liability and property damage insurance requirements as part of the process, and comprehensive general liability, et cetera. But I think Vinnie makes a very good point. I don't know that we can't hone in a little more closely into the types of problems that we may want to particularize. I mean, there could be a disaster and very little Are we talking about the property of the town? Are we talking about other people's property, obviously? I mean, but going bankrupt, generally, that would, I think that would trigger a liability occasion. But certainly, that's something we should look at. That's a good point.
And again, if the intent, if there's a consensus to go out to request for proposals with a defined scope and requesting a fee proposal with it, but the other, my intent would be to sort of tighten this up to make sure the qualification part of it is strengthened. So we make sure we get, definitely a capable firm. Like I said, I get very nervous about one of these small operations. If we get stuck with them, or we start down the road with them, the potential future liabilities can be pretty huge. And also, I've got to update this whole thing. I'm grading that out for overall, before I put a lot into it. Is there a consensus? Yeah, this is the right way to go, and I'll bring it back to you. Before I go out, I think we want to.
I think you should consult with John when you're doing it also.
Okay. I mean, and I can come back with a very defined written proposal, updated.
Yeah.
With John's blessing, and then we get the workers' control voters blessing that. Okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Item 6, citizen statements and petitions. Regular town council meeting. Item 7, reports of committees, boards, and commissions. Item A, Economic Development Commission. That meeting was canceled.
It was last night was canceled. In addition to the, well, they were throwing in an extra meeting in preparation of trying to get ready for the charrette workshop on Saturday, 14th from 1:30 to 3:30. So it was just sort of a catch-up or review. So it wasn't a whole lot of items on there that, in terms of, they've been focused on the charrette.
Is that still taking place Saturday, the charrette?
Yeah, Saturday at the intermediate school cafeteria.
Okay. Item B, Permanent Project Building Committee.
Permanent Project met on November 25th, and a proposed parking lot design phase was presented. Fran Marola and Kurt Weiss, the town engineer, have done a preliminary parking lot reconfiguration up there, and there was some preliminary work done by Public Works to remove topsoil and things like that before the bad weather started in. And they're also talking to Wallingford Electric as far as for lighting purposes. The bulk of the second phase is concentrated on the outside, parking lot, lighting, curb work, that type of things. So as soon as we get those cost figures in, and we'll see once how much money we have left to do some minor things on the inside still have to be addressed, ADA signs, a few things like that. And then also, once the parking lot is done, we need to look at it as far as, are we going to change the main entrance for the community center piece because of the portables being down? The portables are gone, and so we're going to have discussions as to, do we want to reconfigure that a little bit? The doors are right there on the side, and that's how they're reconfiguring part of the parking lot there. It seems like a natural spot to move the main entrance for the community center to where the portables, you can't even tell the portables were there anymore. That's how well Franny did in removing them.
What's the plan for when that parking lot will be finished?
Not until spring. They can't do any work now. The paving plants basically have closed in this weather, so it would be springtime before anything can be done
I like that
there.
idea of having the entranceway on the side. I think that people would like that a lot better.
So we just have to look at the configuration for that and see once what can be done there. And then as far as the high school roof project goes, paperwork was submitted to the state for approval of that. There were a few items that were incomplete. The bid package has not gone out on that roof project yet. That is slated to go out probably sometime by mid-February or so. For the plan is to have that roof done once school is out in June. So that's kind of in a hold pattern right now.
I have a question on the community center. It was brought to my attention by a few seniors that for them to go to a handicap bathroom, it's quite a ways for them, and they wanted to know what exactly is going on, or if we're going to do something about that, because they have a lot of trouble getting back and forth. Obviously, they're older and they don't have the mobility that younger people do.
We are looking at that also. There was one possibility that we were looking at, if we could put one further down by where the seniors meet in that room. We're not sure that that's going to work, and it doesn't have to be a handicap bathroom. It doesn't have to meet all the ADA requirements because we already have ADA bathrooms, but we can make it so that it's accessible to anyone. We're also looking to see if there's room in one of the one of the rooms that they use for the seniors to just frame out an area for a bathroom.
Yeah,
and that would all come out of the next round, this round of funding that we have. So we are looking at that
Yeah, I
issue.
think
Nothing
that's-
has been resolved yet, though.
I think that's a very, very important thing we need to do for our seniors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it's a priority.
are looking at it, but building committee didn't meet last night. There wasn't a quorum, so it'll be on the January agenda.
Thank you, Rose. Item C, Finance Committee.
There's been no meetings for November or December.
I was going to add just quick item D, the Fire Commission. I actually attended a meeting at Company One, and it was a very good meeting. They had over probably 30 or 40 members there. They just completed their ISO audit, which is a very thorough audit of our fire department's record keeping, and also our town in general, where fire hydrants are. And I think the chief will probably be here at one point to provide an in-depth on that report. But it was interesting to see where the hydrants are in our town, and I believe there's going to be some changes made within our department, moving different apparatus to serve safety-wise for our community better, potentially. I thought it was a really good meeting. They had a lengthy discussion on volunteers from that and some of the things they're going to be looking at budget time. So I don't think I left anything out. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it.
Anthony, we still on finance?
No,
We
you
can go back.
be, if you'd like.
Can we go back? I wanted to open it up for discussion on the finance subcommittee, and whether it's lived its life or not. To me, for all the years I've been on the council, especially when you're not maybe a savvy counselor, you have this finance subcommittee, and like I've stated before, it's not in the charter, and I'm not sure where it came from. The town council is the financial board of the town. That is clear in the charter. And the finance subcommittee doesn't have any power. So why do we have it? Whatever's discussed there could easily be discussed here. I know it would be adding to our time that we're here, but if you don't happen to be on the finance subcommittee, it seems to me that you go to the finance subcommittee and you get a presentation on what some of the departments want to do. it comes before us here, and we might get a brief, half a sentence about what happened, and if you don't happen to be on the finance subcommittee and you say, what's this about? You get told, oh, we did it in finance, and you're expected to vote on it. So, I know, after the council, after each election, we appoint different people to boards and commissions, and I think that we should eliminate the finance subcommittee and let the town council do its job, and all financial issues are discussed here.
So would your proposal be then are you thinking that we would just, like the second council meeting of the month, that would kind of become our finance, whatever would have been discussed at a finance subcommittee, we just put that on the agenda and do it at the second council meeting of the month?
Because that one's not the WPC.
Correct.
Normally, the WPCA is the first one. so-
And we normally meet, the finance committee was meeting the second Wednesday. It met between the two council meetings.
And the council would set the agenda at the first one.
So it's,
And I know, because I was there for a short time, we probably need 45 minutes to an hour or something to handle some of that stuff too. So I don't know if we need to start at 6:15 or 6:30 or what we need to do. So I'm just throwing out my idea for.
I'd like to be privy to those presentations myself, Al. That would give me more knowledge and insight on how to make decisions on things instead of, like you said, looking at maybe a paragraph or two to try to explain everything when maybe I need a little more explanation on it. And like you said, it's something that, we vote on.
And I want to be clear on this. I'm not insinuating that anything has ever been done wrong by doing it doing it the way that it's been done. That's not my motive. My motive is looking at all the boards and commissions and seeing, how many nights out that all of us end up having. And I think that's one that we could pull back, do it right here, have the full presentation right here, and be done with it.
Plus, it gives the people who are watching us a better insight to the internal workings of our town also. I think that would be a good thing. The more we get out the public, the more transparent we are, the better we are.
Joe, you've been on it. Any thoughts?
I don't really have any strong feelings, and it won't take much to convince me to eliminate one meeting a month. So, you can get me on board pretty easily. I don't know what the genesis of the subcommittee was.
Me neither. It was there when I first got here.
It's not
in
a creature of
1989.
charter, so we can vote to eliminate it if we choose. But it does have some worth to it, I think, in terms of the discussions that are had there, because we often are in a position to come back to the council with a recommendation based on those discussions. You may not want to take the same amount of time to do it here, but I'm absolutely willing to give it a try. I mean, we can always put it back if we find
Right,
it's
I
too
agree.
cumbersome.
I
Yeah.
totally agree with that.
9 brains are better than 4.
Sometimes the discussion in a smaller group is more productive than the council as a whole, but I don't have such a strong feeling about it that I would say you're absolutely wrong or you're absolutely right. I'm perfectly willing to try it your way.
Thoughts from the town attorney?
There's no problem. I mean, full boards and commissions can be abolished by the town council, with the exception of those created in the charter, which would be by amendment. But some of the ones that are in the charter, you'd be surprised that are in the charter, and some of the ones that are in the ordinances, you'd be surprised. Department of Public Works is in the charter. Police Commission is an ordinance. So the answer is, obviously, a subcommittee is something that's not even necessary to have an ordinance for. It's a derivative or a constituent of the council itself. So it's up to your convenience.
So do we actually don't have to take any action? All financial stuff just comes to us, or do we have to disband the committee that we had?
Well, we didn't appoint
one for the new council?
as of yet.
Right.
But we've had the
But we've
committee
had
as a
the committee,
subcommittee.
so
probably want to take a vote on a motion to eliminate, I would think.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to eliminate the financial subcommittee.
Second.
Do you want to consider, I think Rose's point logistically is a good idea in that motion to place it on the second meeting?
Okay.
Well-
I'll make a motion to disband the financial subcommittee and put the financial
Report or whatever.
Agenda.
agendas on the second council meeting of the month. Do we need this, should we start earlier?
I don't believe you, well,
Why don't we leave it at 7 for
Yeah,
now?
leave it
If
at
we need
7.
more time, we'll move it back.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's it. Second.
And so the months that we only meet once a month, it'll be on that month's agenda?
Yeah.
Then? Okay, just,
Correct, 'cause we
it's
don't-
July, August, and December are the ones that we normally only meet once a month. So it'll be on that agenda. I second Al's motion.
Okay, Counselor, moved by Counselor Rose, seconded by Counselor Angeloni. Roll call?
Mayor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Caprio,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Okay. Item 8, Town Manager's Report.
yeah, before I get into the items there, one of the other things I mentioned was the request from a local citizen, Doreen Vitro, for putting a sign on the Northford Green in remembrance of the tragedy that happened at Sandy Hook. She wanted to put it up Wednesday for 1 week, starting tomorrow, Wednesday to Wednesday.
My question is, does the town own that property, or does the
No,
church?
we maintain it, but we don't own it. I think it's part church, part state. From my understanding from talking with Fran Marola, we don't own it, but we maintain it.
So,
I'd get permission from the church. I wouldn't think that comes under maintenance, but I also don't see anybody having a problem with it.
right.
Yeah, well, the alternative, I guess, could be she could look at some other property like, town hall or one of the firehouses or something like that. I mean,
It's only for 1 week.
yeah,
you know.
right.
Give the church a call and see if they're
Sure.
okay with it.
Okay, nobody has, any objections, we'll do that, I'll do that.
Yeah, I think we should solicit the permission of the, whoever the pastor is of that
Right.
congregational church.
Nobody has an objection of her doing it.
I have some reservation in terms of whether or not we're creating a precedent that anybody that's got a personal mission of some sort
Yeah.
suddenly wants to put signage on the town, what is the town green? I guess as long as they come and ask permission, and we check it with the church, I suppose it's okay.
And the content of it.
Yeah,
I think as long as there's, like you said, a time limit that it's
Right.
gonna be up for a week or
Mhm.
something.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Route 80, there wasn't any, it was pretty much wrapped up. That's still just on there, but there's still a few odds and ends and things that they're working on, but essentially it's all done for the season. And
The first morning that was open was a godsend if you had to travel through that section. So it is very nice.
Or do they have to finish in the spring, or are they
Oh, yeah.
entirely done?
No, there's going to be, Kirk will probably have more detail, but plantings and there's still some other outstanding items that they didn't get
Got to
to.
spread some crushed rock around, make it look
Yeah.
finished.
Yeah, they'll be working in the spring. They definitely have.
Well, Kurt, are they going to be putting any more lighting up for Route 139 and the crossroad there? That
I thought there was
intersection,
to be more, I'm gonna
It's
check
pretty
it, because
dark.
I came through there with the same question.
it's very dark over there.
Because that was an issue that came up during the construction process.
That's a huge intersection.
Right,
Yeah.
That's right, it's a wide open thing,
Yeah.
and they actually looked at it and agreed, all right, we have to add lights, because they didn't have an original
Right.
plan.
Right.
But I'll check on that and
Yeah.
make sure I get the information back.
I've heard rumblings about the plantings too, that the church is not getting the amount that was originally supposed to go there.
Yeah, and there have been discussions both with DOT and, actually a church representative talked to the rights-of-way person at DOT, and if we need a little bit more help, you may have to solicit some.
And then the fencing they took down along the historic cemetery there?
Yeah, they've been putting that will go back. There's new fence similar to what they have near where the community center was. That type of fence is going all the way down the other, near the cemetery.
Is that going up this winter yet, or in the spring?
It's probably going to be spring.
Okay.
I mean, that's,
Yeah. And then I saw that backfilling the curbs because with this, plowing that's going to happen, all the curbs are going to get wiped out.
yeah, and again, the big push was to get pavement in, get some line striping in there, to get everything functional for the winter. But there's quite a bit of cleanup and finish up type of work in the spring.
Is Church Street going to open before spring?
I don't believe, I think there was an issue with,
No, I
some
don't believe
shading on
it
that,
is.
so
Okay.
maybe that
Yeah.
must they closed with what I heard.
And we have kind of a punch list going.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the church had some issues with them, and some of those been resolved, but the plantings is one that they still have out there. But I haven't,
I mean, I'm more
They've
concerned.
been pushing to get it open, and now we'll have meetings to try to.
I'd be more concerned with the lighting. I mean, if we can get that done before, there's no reason they can't.
Right.
Yeah,
I thought there was something on the other side of the road going there too.
Right.
Okay.
okay. Thank you, Craig.
Item B, the community center, Rose gave a pretty good update on what's transpiring there. We are engaged with Tom Hibbert, the architect, to look at the bathroom issue, and that'll certainly be a function of funds, with the emphasis being the exterior, doing the paving and striping, reconfiguration, and also the lighting, and then what's left over, concentrating, but in the meantime, looking at, with the architect, kind of putting numbers together and feasibility about where we could do that.
That's something we need to do for our seniors. That has to
Yeah.
get done.
Well, I do know, I believe it was either last year, they found the sewer line, which was down by that end.
Yes, it is.
of the
Yeah.
corner.
Mhm.
So that makes it very doable.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a few options we're looking at,
Right.
and, we'll come up with the most, economical fix.
Right.
But that'll take some time, and the exterior, we are embarking on a lighting program, or a lighting, plan, if you will. Met with Rick Hendershot of UI, not UI, I'm sorry, from Wallingford Electric, because it's in that location, but they're so small, they don't have the program like UI does. So, Kurt and I met, and we're going to actually have another meeting later this week on the lighting plan, but essentially talking with an electrical contractor, and Rick had suggested basically it's probably easier for you to pull right off the building and then locate when the parking lot's ripped up and stub in those type of bases and so forth, but it's trying to figure out how much we can light from the building and then how much we have to pull into the parking lot and begin to look at some type of lighting, and rather than just, slapping something up on a telephone pole, try to, dress it up a little bit without breaking the bank, obviously, and put lighting in there to meet those needs. So we'll continue to put the plan together. So essentially, sort of myself, Kurt, and Fran looking with the architect and the electrical contractor to try and figure that out, where to place those. So that's moving along, and that'll come back to the Permanent Project Building Committee, and we'll have a better idea as we, move, probably for the next meeting, hopefully. We'll have some sense of if we can pull this together. So.
We put, what, $200,000 extra into this project to finish the parking lot and everything else?
Well, the council did.
From that sewer grant?
312.
312.
Right.
We need to make sure there's enough money left over to do this bathroom for our senior citizens. I can't emphasize that enough. I want that bathroom in there because they work their whole lives, and this is something that they enjoy, and this is something that they should have.
Okay. Duly noted. I mean, we're still looking at numbers for the parking lot and lighting, and when those, and Rose knows that at the permanent project building committee is sort of like, it's a freeze right now. I mean, it's just sort of like everything's frozen in terms of not doing anything until we get that number in and get that project done and know what that number is, and then figure out, what's left. Theoretically, we're looking at, estimating budget of, with parking lot and lighting at the 200,000 or so, or over. I mean, really, we don't know yet. So, that's the reserve, that we're not going to do anything to eat into that. Except obviously, obligations we've already had that we're going to pay. But beyond that, it's just getting the parking lot numbers.
Well, whatever
Down.
you guys do has to come before us for approval anyway.
Yeah. Well, that, I mean, if you're gonna, but again.
Well, actually, no, because it's permanent project building committee.
Yeah.
It's only if the project went over the amount of money that is there, would have to come back to the council for more funding. But because this project has been given to permanent project, they.
So now
They have the budget.
They could do whatever they want, is what you're telling me.
Well,
They're aware of the bathroom.
I am a member of permanent project for the STW conversion, so I will, bring the council's concerns forward and, make sure that we can see once where the money can come from. But the part of the reason the council gave the whole steep grant was because the parking lot and lighting really needs to get done up there. We need more parking spaces up there, and the lighting is absolutely horrible up there.
We also need to take care of those people who can't walk that far to go to the bathroom.
Right, but I mean, so that will move up on the priority list, but.
That's what I'm trying to get through to everybody that needs to move up on the priority list.
But we can't say definitely that it will get done because we don't have all these numbers, but it most likely will be able to get done once we have more definitive numbers to it.
And then being up there, I kind of walked around and whatnot, and there's a few minor things I think that could be easily, I know storage is very tight, and there are some rooms that are still being utilized that I think could be freed up for Park Rec. I mean, they need storage desperately. And, there were some outbuildings that basically are not being used, other than they need a key to it. And there's some items on that side of the building that don't belong to the town or us. Maybe if we can work and cooperate somehow, and that way they can use some of that storage. I think it's, really important. The voters now have their machines up there.
Right.
I mean, the storage is tight.
It is. That's the Achilles heels in terms of the storage. As you know, the former locker rooms are, that is sort of off the table at this point, or I should say at the end of the list, and it's functioning as storage.
Right. Because we moved, Louisa Breen up there, which was going to be a storage area.
Right.
So they lost that. So presently she has things in the hallway. She's doing the best she can to store these things.
Right.
And in walking around, I saw there could be rooms utilized, if we get a level of cooperation, I think, and, maybe communication, and see if we can use some of them.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be revisiting that issue and probably soon. But it's a point well taken. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I've got at this point for the community center. Which, it's ongoing. We'll have that meeting and lighting, and then we'll continue to progress with numbers on the project. Next is just the Farm River Bridge project. The letter there that subgroup from the last meeting that DOT was here agreed to come back specifically to meet with the business owners in the zone that are impacted by the project, and so that's been rescheduled from what was originally the 3rd to Tuesday, December 17th, 6:30 here in the council chambers. So we're hoping that we'll have a good dialogue and give and take with DOT in terms of getting more specifics as to what they heard from the business owners and what they could possibly do to accommodate them. So I'm not privy to any any results or anything from DOT, and just will be there and hope that the council members, those that are interested, can be there.
Have they all been notified about the change? I know they got the first letter.
Yeah, yeah, we've done, again, this is sort of the copy of, resent notifying, and we certainly don't think it'll hurt for the office to make some more calls as reminders, because it seemed pretty important to the business owners,
Right.
and want to make sure that
And if you want, you could start with Tony Catapano at Waltz, because
Yeah.
he seems to be kind of spearheading and keeping all the neighbors down there in the loop, if you will.
Sure. Yep.
Thank
we can
you.
do that. Item D is the review in terms of the rec department, in terms of the, transition to Stanley T. Williams, and, it came up at the last meeting, asking for, the sort of analysis, and I spent a lot of time up there, and, sitting with Pam and staff, and just observing, and meeting with staff, interviewing staff, talking with them, so, I put together what I hope is helpful in terms of understanding the core function and scope of what they do up there. And it's obviously a larger facility, and it's laid out a little bit differently than the old facility, as they call when you think about where they were as a cluster, cluster being where the office and the reception and the close proximity to the fitness center and people coming and going, that they would be able to look and visually see what was going on and not be too far apart. Now it's much bigger, double the size, and linear, so there are some growing pains there. For them, for the staff that they have and doing what they do, they are cross-trained in multitasking on a daily basis, which is what you want to see and what you want to know when somebody's out sick or on vacation, so forth, that they have the personnel to get in there and to be able to process all of those programs. And a lot of the programs, are what really keeps them busy, and it's year round. And I myself was not entirely aware of everything they do, so I thought it'd be helpful to throw that in as well in terms of the youth, teens, adults, seniors, and events. I guess there is some great synergy coming from the seniors and rec being under one roof, and I think, I know the feedback from the notes that they allow seniors to send in, and ways and tips to make things better, what they would like to see, and so forth, that numbers are increasing, activity level, and you've been there as well. It seems to be picking up, and some of the numbers in terms of meals, in terms of programs, and I don't have it all quantified, just here and there in terms of the senior membership going from 200 to 350. Meals are, on the rise as well, programs. It has the potential to continue on that trajectory where people like it. And of course, if we do other amenities like, putting and addressing the bathroom issue, because that did come up, staff has identified that. Parking is an issue. When we get through that and really address those issues, I think you're going to see a lot of interest, and certainly the demographics and baby boomer numbers are there to support that. All at our facility, I'm not sure, but just kind of goes to the core that they're stretched pretty far at this point. And I hope this helps to kind of lay that out, give you the organizational chart, and show you how everything works. But one of the items that was in the budget from last year was that, part-time receptionist person. I think that could go a long way, but that could be, certainly not proposing that now. That'd be something that would be, brought up and revisited in the budget process. But I think they're doing an admirable job for the, personnel levels that they have at this point, given the programs that they do. And I think it's a benefit to the community as a whole to have a thriving rec department and senior center. And again, you have a lot of good energy there when they're combined. And Louisa being located up there as well, I think makes a lot of sense where she helps out as well and is able to work within that clientele. She's, I think it makes sense and continue to thrive.
I noticed on here, it says that the hours are the same, 9 to 4, and I thought this summer when we did the administrative package and we talked about this, that department was going to go to the same as all the other departments, 8:30 to 4:30.
Yeah, and that's going to have to be a negotiated issue with the union in terms of changing time and schedule. I can't just unilaterally change and have to negotiate with the unions to do that.
But what
What was it before that?
Well, it's always been,
what-
it was 9 to 4 where they were, so it's been in the contract for,
the secretary's contract?
yeah, for the clerical.
Right, but what about, the super, Pam or Lauren and, all those people, they're 9 to 4 also? I mean, why can't they be the same? They're not right, they're not in a union?
They're non-union, right, but I mean, in terms of having supervision, yeah, I mean, I could take a look.
I mean, we talked about that this summer when we did the whole administrative package, and the administrative team that came and negotiate, or talked to us, and there was back and forth discussion, it didn't seem to be a problem then. So I was just wondering why that is still there.
Yeah, I was looking for the opportunity when we opened the contract, rather than trying to open something up right now, waiting for the contract to open, which we will be starting in probably January, to begin negotiations. From a timing standpoint, I figured it would be easier to begin the process then.
So the people that work 9 to 4, they don't take a lunch?
Right.
I guess I kind of find that hard to believe.
Well, they eat, they work through and eat when they can. Yeah, it's a bit unusual, I guess. It's
Well,
different
are
from what
we-
we have.
But are we breaking any labor laws by that, by not them technically not getting a break? I mean,
No, not
our
that
whole
way.
discussion this summer was based on that all the departments would be the same hours. And
Yeah,
that was the premise of it. And so
move in that
we were
direction.
going to wait until they moved to the new facility, which they have moved, and now they're there a couple months. I just think all town departments should be the same hours.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I just, in terms of getting there, I just can't do it unilaterally. So, I mean, yeah, I'll look into that, and I think that's, on the notes and the pad for next go-around.
Okay.
Okay, Recreation Department review is done. Item 9, community events and presentations. I know this Friday night, Company 3 is celebrating their 50th anniversary. Crystal Lake dinner. I believe also this weekend we're visiting Santa Claus at the North Branford Intermediate School. And we also have the charrette. Item 10, citizen statements and petitions and correspondence.
Carl Help, 73 Forest View Road. My wife received an email from Councilmember Angeloni regarding voting for her and her party from the past election. My wife did not give out her email address at work, which is where she received this email. The only person who has that email is the school system for our children. We're trying to figure out how Ms. Angeloni, and I have a copy of the email here, from her personal email address was sent to my wife's email at work. My wife could have lost her job. I'm unemployed. That is our only source of medical insurance. My wife could have lost her job. She was very upset. She could have, like I said, she could have lost her job. Her boss, fortunately, knows that she's not a troublemaker per se. She doesn't do anything. She's not supposed to get personal emails,
Okay.
especially political emails. The only way this could have gotten was from Ms. Angeloni through her employment.
Well, I don't know that, or I don't know. I guess I'll refer to John. I mean, I don't know.
I have a copy of the email right here.
Okay.
Well, I don't, you're talking about these, where does she work, in one of the schools?
No, well, Ms. Angeloni works at one of the schools.
No, I'm talking about your wife.
She works totally separate from the school system. She works at the Knights of Columbus in New Haven.
Oh, so I guess I'm not sure why would she have lost her job?
For receiving personal emails at work.
At the
She's
Knights
not supposed to get
At the Knights
pers-
of Columbus?
Yes.
I see.
If it was our personal email address, that's different. This was her work email. She doesn't give it out. It's just given to the schools for our children.
Well, I mean, I don't want to, I'm obviously very concerned, and I'm not going to dissuade you from that, but obviously she didn't do anything wrong, so that's what she would have said, that if she received an errant email from somebody that she didn't invite to send her an email or give her email address to, I would think that not only would termination be a very harsh punishment, but I wouldn't think would be an occasion for discipline at all.
But I'm just saying, her personal information was violated.
Well,
My wife did not give out her email to Mr. Candelora.
yeah.
It was given to the schools. So for sake of argument, she were to get an email from Mr. Davis at the intermediate school. She's allowed to get an email from A. Davis at North Branford Schools. This email was sent from her personal email address. My wife is upset because how did she get this email from her personal, did Ms. Angeloni get this email to send to my wife to her work email address? You can't just go to the Knights of Columbus website, look up my wife's name, and there's not a roster there. That's the point I'm trying to make. I've spoken to a friend of mine who's a lawyer, and he's trying to keep me from sending a copy of this email to the election board because something was not right done here.
Well, what would you like?
I don't know, I'm letting it, I've already been to the Board of Education, I've spoken to Mr. Schoonmaker, I'm just putting it out here so that you know what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Duly noted. Any other citizen statements or petitions? Item A, funding for Regional 2 Mental Health Board.
Yeah, the request came in. We have not funded this organization in this current round, and I think, looking again for funding, but the reason it's actually in there, I had put it in there, because typically this would hold until the finance. It's page 2 where, whether we fund or not fund, that in bold here on the second page, that the town does not have a representative to serve in that catchment area. And whether or not you want to add that to your list of appointments. I don't know if it's addressed to Richard. I don't know if Richard was the person going to that, if he ever went, or if this council ever appointed anybody to serve in that capacity.
What benefit do we get from being in it?
I'm not sure, other than knowledge of what they're doing and how the state works and how they process.
We were paying like $780
Right.
to belong. I don't remember ever getting any reports on it or anything.
I mean, do
But,
we?
I think this was something that past town manager, it was one of the things that he did, and I think that's how we got into it. I mean, I don't ever remember that before he was here. So, I just read through the thing, and I'm not sure that there's $780
Boards
worth
and
of benefit.
commissions on second to the last page. There was a Christine Defkin DiMatteo that was was our representative on there. It expired April 30, 2010.
Right.
So it wasn't, the manager never served on it. It was a late person.
Historically, have we been funding this every year, Anthony?
Yeah,
Since when?
as long as they've been. Until this past budget year, when all the external agencies were cut out of the budget. We did the domestic violence we used to do, we did this regional mental health, we did 2 or 3 of them in this past year. They were all eliminated out of the budget.
Well, isn't that actually the answer then? If we cut it out of the budget, how can we approve that expenditure now?
Right.
We can't, it's out of the budget.
Do we have to do the expenditure in order to have a representative, or we have a representative regardless if we fund it or not?
My understanding is, in talking with, that we have a representative regardless, that we can send, whether we're
Okay.
paying into it, because it's a mandate from the state, I guess, for the North Branford, and we're designated in that catchment area.
Okay, so you're looking more, not for us to fund it for this year, but
Right.
for a representative?
And right, like I said, as a funding issue, it would be held until the next round of deliberations and the next fiscal year. I was just bringing to your attention the fact that if you'd like to reappoint or appoint someone, they're looking, or bringing that to your attention, that there's a vacancy.
Have you contacted the person that was appointed, that has been our rep, that Christine?
DeMatteo.
DeMatteo? Have you had any contact with her to see if she,
No, but I can certainly do that. I'd be happy to do that.
I guess that would be the first
Yeah,
step, to see once.
Also, it's from the mental health in town.
No.
No.
I mean, I'd also offer, I mean, I don't mind if you want me to be the representative or go, but I don't know if it has to be a resident, and that's fine, but I mean.
Well, why not check and see if this lady still has any interest, and if she
Yeah, no,
does,
yeah, I'll do
probably
that.
be more appropriate to appoint a citizen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, her new term looks like it's until April 30, 2014. Okay. Item B, invitation from Senator Murphy regarding local office hours.
Yeah, there's a flyer in there, he'll be
Yeah.
in town, or staff will be.
Item 11, resignations and appointments. Item A, resignation, Anthony Sedera, Permanent Project Building Committee.
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Anthony Sedera from the Permanent Project Building Committee with regrets.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Caprio. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Diamond?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Item B.
Just, excuse me, can we make sure that a letter goes out to him, thanking him for his service
Sure.
on that committee?
Will do. Item B, I'm not sure we're able to make these appointments this evening as far, I mean, I haven't gotten any yet, but appointments to town boards, commissions, as per attached list from the town clerk's office. I'm not sure, have you received any appointments yet?
I got the list of what the appointment dates and expirations are.
Right.
That's the only thing I remember.
There's no new appointments that we
Yeah.
have right now.
People have to be nominated by the town committees.
Correct,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Next.
I don't think we have to do anything with that at the moment. Unfinished business, discussion and action. Item A, updates to defined benefit plan documents, police union table, July 9th, 2012. I believe we're going to be tabling that again.
Oh, that's
No.
ready to go.
It's ready to go? All right,
Finally.
that's good.
A year and a half later, not bad.
When it's all over.
So what's the upshot of this? Is that whatever was done incorrectly?
Right, there were 2 changes that were made erroneously to the plan that police union did catch, and after some revisions, the 2 sections were reverted back to the 2004 version that was the adopted version, and they have agreed to drop their municipal prohibited practice claim and ready to move on and to finalize this. So the game plan would be for you guys to ratify it, send it to the police union, they ratify it, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, but doesn't it end pretty quick?
This one ends in June 30, 2015.
So we would be
Right.
ratifying it just to
For
finish out
another
the
year and a
term.
half.
Right.
Is there any reason why the union hasn't ratified this already?
Because it's first,
Typically, agreements are ratified, union agreements are ratified by the union first.
we can certainly do it that way.
I mean, it put the council in an embarrassing position
Yeah.
if they vote for something and the union rejects it.
Okay.
So,
Motion to table this.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
since we're on this, when,
That's right.
so this could take a while to decide, or, you know, to go forward, especially with where, you know, where these sort of pensions are going in the surrounding areas. So it's probably pretty safe bet that it's going to take at least a year to come to terms with them going forward,
For the new
For the
pension.
new go-around?
starting at 2015.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a pretty good understanding of where the town's coming from. And I think you're gonna see movement, I think, along what the town's looking to achieve. I think the writing's on the table.
I guess my thing is, I was totally embarrassed that we didn't start, you know, that we started negotiation on the union contracts, both here and over there, after they were already expired. And I'm not gonna sit here and do that again. You know, we're gonna have something in place, or at least if I have anything to say about it, when this thing expires. We're not gonna negotiate out and go forward. And the sooner we have something in place,
Right.
we get new employees on a much more,
That's not exactly 100% true statement. Both negotiations, both on the three AFSCME groups here and the police group, started prior to the contracts expiring. This last
I
one,
was sitting here, we didn't do much. We kept
Well-
asking for meetings, so you're not gonna win that one with me. I was sitting here,
well,
all right?
they did
They
start
were
prior to
like a
expiration.
year late by the time we got them finished, you know?
Oh,
So,
when they
but that's
were
water
finished.
over the dam. What I'm saying is, when this thing ends,
Right.
we need to have the new one in place. So I guess I'm asking you, when do we start talking to them about it? Because it's, you know, there's gonna be big changes in it.
Well,
I
prior
anticipate-
to this, we have the four AFSCME contracts expiring this coming June 30th. We have the defined benefit for the town employees expiring this coming June 30th.
All right, so
This is
then
a
we
year and a
need
half
to,
out
we need to get all that stuff
January
started in
1st.
January.
of 2015.
No, of this January.
For the
No, we have
ones-
those other ones. that-
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, for
For
the others.
those, we need
Correct.
to get that going.
You are correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Recreation Department Potato and Corn Festival reorganization. I had asked Michael if Pam could come this evening, and I thank you. Do you mind coming up? Good evening. Okay. I know at our last meeting, you had mentioned about the Potato and Corn Festival that you were kind of stepping back and, you know, having more thought about it. I'm saying, wait a minute, we need transition, and I know some of the other people here had questions and, you know, informing the committee and, you know, just everything kind of about the organization, I guess, of the Potato Festival.
Not sure.
Well, I don't
So-
think you can just come to our October meeting, say you're stepping back, but yet it's still a town function, because there has been no decision as to whether we're going to hire an outside company to run it, if it's going to go to a nonprofit, exactly which direction the festival, and we need transition time. So since it's a function of a town department, and the town department that it's a function of is the rec department, I don't think you can entirely, it's my feeling, and that you can't entirely step away from it and wash your hands of it.
Well, I put in a multitude.
We're not arguing
of
that
unpaid
point.
hours, and I don't feel, quite honestly, that there's been enough optimism about this festival at all. if anything, over the years, it's been nothing but pessimistic stuff, and I put 120% into everything that I do, and quite honestly, at this point, I'm feeling as if I have a big, big job to do with this new center, and I feel it's time for me to put my 120% into this center. And it is virtually beyond my scope. It always has been, but I did it anyway. And it is time for me to spend the 120% on my job. And I feel that at this point right now, that there is a strong foundation. There is a strong, I certainly can, there's been question about leadership. There's been questions about finances. There's been questions about how well things have been done, how things have not been done. I mean, it's been very frustrating. And I feel as if the energy that I have for my position needs to be put into Parks and Rec and Senior Center, into this new building. And I feel as if you need to appoint a group, because you've been talking about appointing and you haven't appointed this group, you never knew about the group, so it's just very frustrating. The last 4 years have been very frustrating. And although we've come ahead every single year, we have provided an incredible function every single year. And I'm a little lost for words publicly right now. But I certainly would be willing to meet anybody on the side. I'd be willing to talk a little bit more. I've certainly expressed my feelings the last Potato Fest meeting, and this wasn't in October, it was in September. And at that point, moving forward, it is late. It is December. And I have done this event on my own time for many, many years.
It was actually the October meeting, October 18th meeting, because the following week is when you had the Potato Fest meeting that I was at in
Well,
October.
September, we've mentioned it as well, so.
Not at a council meeting,
I don't recall.
so.
So, at this point, I'm not, I'm waiting for direction from the council. But I know as my time, I give so much X amount of time to this position. I've given way above and beyond my time to this position. And it is an event that's grown, quadrupled. It's an incredible event. But at this point, we need more help. We need more help in the office. And in order to pull this event off, if that's one of the suggestions from the town council to do that, then we'll need some more help in the office. I cannot continue to pull the hours I've done for nothing. I work almost 2 weeks in one weekend, and I've never asked for a single day off. But yet, continue to hear negativism about this event. And I am tired of taking the pressure. I am tired of taking the stress. I am tired of taking I don't know, there's just no positive. The positive ran out.
In your judgment, what is the position of director of the Potato and Corn Festival? Is it a full-time year-round position, a part-time position year-round, a position that needs to be staffed X months before the event? What do you think it needs?
It's a lot of organization. And for people that don't understand, when they think about recreation, they think about fun and games, and it is a huge undertaking. And the amount of stress and responsibility on one person to come up with the funds to pay for the entire thing, it's enormous. It got to be a big, and never had a problem doing it. I would work and do it. But it got to the point where it's overloaded now. And, at the end of the day, there was one person that was concerned about whether the $200,000 was covered, and that was me. Sweat and all. So there's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure when there's no town funding to support this, which was one of the positive things about it. So yes, to answer your question, it is a full year position.
Full year, full-time position?
You know what, I would say yes. You want it done right? You want the funds to come in, you want it, I could never fully do the job to my full potential, because I even sponsorship-wise, I didn't do it correctly. Correctly, I'd be shaking hands. I would be making many more relationships. I would be, it was very difficult to do everything, to multitask. But to still raise those funds and get people involved in the marketing issue, there was just an enormous marketing piece that I'm not sure everybody quite understands. But you need people to run it. And then when you move into another facility, that your expectations for the town are large for that as well. And I think it's, I think someone's quite capable. Don't get me wrong, I am not the only person in the world that could pull this off. I'm just saying, in my position, I have a lot of responsibility, and it is time to, I'll be more than happy to hand over all my notes, all my, everything. I have every piece of information there is every single month what to do. So you're right, there's transition period, but you need a strong leader
Hey,
to
Pam,
pull it all together.
I'm a new person on the block here. Do you have a profit from the last year? Is there money is there money for a stipend for somebody? Are you willing to help someone if there were money?
I'm always willing to help.
You would spend the time helping the person?
In the transition period, but I have to be careful with my time. I have to be careful with my time. And it becomes too, like, I really feel I don't want to have to be responsible. Because if it's mine, I'll take it to the limit. You know what I mean? I will do everything in my power if it, but I can't be responsible for all that money if it's not, in my hands.
But you would put the time in to advise and help
I
someone?
would advise, sure. Is there a stipend? Your question was, now that they've taken $19,000 out of our funds, no. I mean, our kitty was starting to grow, and I think we had the potential to get there. We don't right now. Mm-mm.
The 19,000 that she's talking about, it's not that the council took the money, it's that there was grant money that was used that the state disallowed.
Okay,
for some functions, some things that were done for the Potato and Corn Festival. So we had to take the money that was built up in the kitty to pay back basically the state, the grant.
Well, thank you for telling me that.
That was not our decision.
Okay.
That was through the state.
I think that could have been spread out, but that's another story because it's an infrastructure of the town. It's a town park. It isn't just for 4 days a year, and it wasn't just for that. It is a town park. We purchased the land. We've worked very, very, very hard to earn this money. And, I think that could have been a function of the Parks and Recreation Commission to talk to about another story another day. But I don't know that there is money enough to hire someone out of those funds.
It actually sounds like this was quite a burden to all our town services to do all of this. I would think about looking into other options so we don't burden our town workers so much. And maybe we could just do something where we can get a percentage of proceeds and somebody else runs the whole show, and we don't have to stress our workers so badly to do this potato festival. And this way it'll take a lot of pressure off a lot of people, and we will still get money from this. And I think it's something that we could look into, and maybe it would be a good option.
Yeah, I had put together a memo to, kind of percolate, get some ideas flowing in terms of options. I hope you've had a chance to take a look at and maybe think of, as I left option 5 open, that maybe there was something the council wanted to look at as well. My understanding, it's been, and having first experienced it, this summer, wonderful community organization and event, and my understanding it's been profitable or breaking even or profitable every year for the 12 years, I guess, it's been running. The question is, we've been through this internally from the staff standpoint with Pam and Anthony. It's entirely a town function. So how do you get to the point where you look at options of trying to spin off or look at other events or community events where Durham or somebody else has a nonprofit, and how do you extract the fact that we're spending money, and where's the oversight? Who's going to sign off outside of, if we get Pam to take a backseat or transition? How do you give the power to somebody to sign off on the authorization and spending and the funding and so forth. And so a lot of those different things came up because it's town-owned, it's town-hosted, town-sponsored, and more than just, a few departments with Public Works and Police Department and a lot, and it has grown to a $200,000. They did a great job trying to pass these out, crunching these numbers in terms of looking at what they've got. It's a pretty big operation.
Right.
So
Then if
maybe
we do this in-house,
yeah.
you're talking probably adding another $50,000, $60,000 to payroll for this.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe one of the other ideas in terms of options.
We're talking another pension, and then we're talking a bunch of things with this whole deal, Michael.
Yeah, no, and I'm just saying that I didn't put down there, but came up in these internal staff discussions. You could go with a chairperson. You could have Pam transition, and maybe you look at the model like the permanent project building committee, and you're the finance committee and use that
Do you realize
yourselves.
that just recruiting all these people every year is a hard thing to do, and it probably, I know the last week you get a big rush of people, I guess, to volunteer to do things. It's not people's schedules. I'm not saying they wouldn't do it, but people's schedules nowadays, 2 people have to work in the household. It's a very hard thing to volunteer. We have trouble getting people to volunteer for our boards and commissions.
Yeah.
And, this is a massive undertaking here. You're
Yeah.
talking how many people? You need a couple hundred people, maybe?
Well, for the weekend.
Right,
You
for
know,
the
we've-
weekend.
We've certainly pulled this off with, I want to say a solid 15 people throughout the year monthly. And, out of those 15, there's probably 5 of them that take some core responsibilities. I could have used some more people that did some core things, but, when you don't find it, time is of essence, so you just do it.
Right,
Get
and
it
that's
done.
what I mean. So we're either looking at an expenditure of an extra $50,000 or $60,000 to hire people to do this, or we look to an outside source maybe, and maybe we just have them run the whole deal and we get a percentage of it, and the town still has their potato festival. Everybody goes, gathers for the good time, and we don't have to stress out as much for all our town departments. And instead of expending money, we'll be bringing in money to the town. That's something we should look at.
So, first of all, you've done a great job with it. And again, trying to work it on a shoestring budget with very little seed money. So I commend you for that. It was just a few short years ago, you were standing here looking for a secretary, and you told us that you were spending all of your time on the Potato Festival. So now you're looking to get rid of all that, and you're saying that you had all that time to spend last year, but now you're gonna, this new rec center is gonna take all your time.
Let me just interrupt, I'm sorry, but I didn't have the time. I made the time.
Okay.
I made the time. I worked
All right, I'm just saying, I have a
120%.
great memory, and I remember you standing there saying
Exactly
you spent
right.
all your time
I
on Potato
have,
Festival.
I have.
And I know you put a lot of time in.
But here's my
for-
time, and here's what I spent
Right.
to get it all
So,
done.
so basically, you've come, you're at wit's end with this, and so now we all have to figure out a way to either go forward, get rid of it, give it to somebody else, or, so what we're gonna do with it. I have a question on this sheet here. I don't see any time for the police department. You see almost $10,000 in
It's under
overtime.
other contractual
Other contractual?
is the police, along with,
Other contractual is $128,000. Okay, so the police is in that.
is part of
Their
that.
pensions and all that, so. Okay, well. So when I look at, these were your options, not her options?
Well, kind of internally, just like what could we possibly come up with? And it wasn't just mine alone, but just
So
bouncing
I mean,
off
basically,
Pam.
and so the town council knew a couple years back that we had for lack of a better word, an illegal, I don't know if illegal is the right word, you can jump in, John, but an illegal.
Maybe too late.
Volunteer committee. Okay, an illegal volunteer committee. And I think that the council looked at it like, all right, we got volunteers in town, so instead of stepping on toes, they all answer to you. So, at least in my mind, I'm like, well, Pam's in charge, she has her group of volunteers, and if they have any organization at all, even though they were calling it, it was all under you. So,
Right.
I agree.
Right.
The buck stops with Pam.
Right.
And we would hold you accountable, and for anything they did, you were accountable.
Right.
So now that you're tired. So now that you're there, in order, at the very least, we need to make it a legal volunteer group. But I called the town clerk to ask who was on this group, and it's not a group, so she has no idea. So.
Well, the council did appoint in January of this past
All right, so
year.
I wasn't here then.
For the August 2013 festival. Pam gave us a list of the volunteers.
So the council made the group
Yeah, we
legal
tried.
Yes.
last January that ran through for this year?
Correct.
Okay, so.
Correct.
Why that
So
list
that's
isn't
good.
with Lisa?
So that.
Still, the group was answering to Pam, and then, so you only ran it to then?
Well, it was to make the committee, because the rec commission or the rec department couldn't appoint their own committee because that was a function of the council.
Right. Okay.
So Pam gave us the
So-
names and we appointed them.
And that was for last year?
Right, because I don't know if those same people are doing it for, I mean.
But it's a different element now that we don't have a town employee that they're gonna answer to.
Well, we don't know that for sure, because we haven't made a decision as to how this is going to go.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to, our options.
Right.
So, in looking at the options, so if you did the spin-off one, you looked for an outside organization to run it. So I would assume that would be something like the town would rent the property for $1, and some total group would get their own insurance, they'd pay all their fees, and they'd run it like the Durham Fair, the Guilford Fair, the Berlin Fair.
Yeah, potentially if you had like a
all the
Rotary or
fairs in the
something.
world.
Yeah, a Rotary or other
That aren't-
nonprofit,
yeah.
either existing or recreating, or, creating one or existing one. And, right, saying.
And that
okay,
would be a difficult thing to do, because they have absolutely zero seed dollars. So they'd have to be, if somebody wanted to do it, they would have to be able to.
Yeah, I don't see how
Fine.
you extricate the town at all, other than, from the management standpoint of planning the event, so to speak.
So then the other thing we'd have to look at is how long of an event it would be. Because talking to different town employees, the 4 days, and I'll say it politely, may or may not be something good.
Of course.
So, and there's additional cost to a 4th day. Especially with overtime for public works, PD and all that. So if you're gonna go forward, that would have to be decided. How many days is this event gonna run?
Well,
And I gotta tell
it would be
you,
a great thing if all Saturday and Sunday rained, and you were thankful you had Thursday, Friday.
I agree.
Yeah, so then it would become a really great thing. So, it
Oh,
almost
you didn't
is-
order the weather?
No, it's a security blanket.
You did pretty good with the weather, though.
Well, Thursday was
Summertime.
not a good day.
Yeah.
But
But the issue becomes time is of the essence at this
I
late in the
agree
game.
totally, but you've
As
got to
to-
do it right. In other words.
Right. So
you
for
gotta do it right. Not only
2014,
that, I think if you're going to form a committee, you need to, and I don't know how many core group people there are, but let's say there's 12 that would want to serve on it. Personally, I think that you should be not unlike a Board of Ed then and say, all right, 6 of you have a 2-year appointment and 6 of you have a 4-year appointment, so that we never have
all new.
all new people at one time. But, I mean, looking at the numbers, I don't see where the town, I don't see in this economy and with a stagnant grand list where we can bring in new people to run it for something that if everything goes well and you have all sunny days, we might make $20,000. And you all know sitting there that bills are still trickling in that aren't on this sheet. So
I think we're pretty fine over it.
And there's a lot of things, costs that the town just pays for that are not on this sheet.
Right.
You know, that the Public Works, this is just the work that they did those 4 days. But it doesn't include all the man-hours and time that was spent the week before, 2 weeks before, and the week after. So there is the.
how many people were on the group that you guys appointed in January?
About 15.
About
15 solid.
15?
Yeah.
So, who has any good ideas?
I like the private sector thing. This
There's
way
not
we
enough
don't-
there for anybody in the private sector to step up
there's not.
and undertake this
Well, they have
responsibility
companies
for a
that do these
$20,000
things.
return.
Right, but they have companies that do these things, amusement companies, carnival companies, all that stuff.
I think the only prayer we have is if some commission, like the Agricultural Commission, decided it was so much a part of their mission that they're prepared to take it on. Short of that, if it doesn't have a town representative spearheading it, I don't see it being a viable function. It's just, there's just not enough money there to
Right.
do it for a profit motive.
I don't see the.
Well, it's not so much for a problem. Joe, you know we can't afford to expend money on this stuff.
I have no argument.
Right, I mean, you know people are still losing their houses left and right in this town. And we can't raise taxes, we can't, we have to hold the line. There's no two ways about it. And if we're gonna continue this, we have to figure out a way to do it where it's gonna still be something that the town enjoys, but we can't expend the money on it.
I think we got to know within the next month,
Right?
by mid-January, whether or not there is an organization or a town committee or commission that's capable of doing this and willing to undertake it, if it's going to happen in 2014.
Right. I agree.
I mean, at this point, we don't have any money to hire a part-time person.
Well, we have money.
$49,000.
$49,000.
There's 49,000 in the kitty. So, and, I mean, they did hire some people to help with the festival, which is already taken out of here. It's under,
About 7,000.
the recreation part-time, that's 7,600. That includes some seasonal people that they hired to help just with the festival.
You also set up a scholarship fund with this thing, right? Now, where's the money go for that, and how's that money gonna continue
Well,
to go into
it
it?
was 1,500, this past year.
Right.
Something I thought was a
It was a great
fabulous
idea.
idea. So,
Right.
if it can continue, that's wonderful. If not, I'm sure they're used to that type of thing too. Or you can consider, for another year, you got money in there,
Now, I know we used to have the carnival over at the field over here at Duty's Field every year, years and years ago, when the driving range was across the street. And a company came in and ran that whole show, and, I don't see why something like that couldn't be worked out. There's companies that come in and do that, Our Lady of Pompeii Fair, the whole deal. And then you can actually mix your vendors in with something like that, but have somebody else be pretty much responsible. I mean, it's something that's got to be looked into. We just can't sit here and say, gee, what are we going to do? We need to start looking into some of these options for real and calling some companies and seeing what's going on. Because I don't see us expending money to do this. I mean, what do we do after this money's gone this year? Then we got to appropriate money in our budget for it, right?
Well,
Exactly. Okay, so this gives us 1 year.
Has anybody asked, or maybe we could ask, maybe they, I think, is it Orange, is it a volunteer fire department fair? Has
Yeah, Orange Volunteer
anyone
Fire Department
proposed it to
Carnival.
the fire department here, whether they'd be interested in taking a shot at it?
I just whispered it.
That's, well, I don't know. I can't speak for the whole department. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure if they did it, they'd want to make money out of it.
Right.
Then they should make money out of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that would relieve some of the burden from the town also.
Why did the Fireman's Carnival stop, Anthony? Was that losing money, or?
The Company 2 Carnival years ago?
Yeah.
I think it became, when you looked at the amount of man-hours that were exerted for the profit, you broke it down on a per-hour basis, it didn't make fiscal sense. And then after that, they went to the Fabulous Bar Bar. They used to have one night a year at Rescue Farms and made just as much profit just about from one night a year with one person doing the lion's share of the work, and they had for 100 people doing, you know, the carnival's a nice thing, the festival's a nice thing, but it's very labor intensive. When you look at the net profit, you did on a per hour basis, you ask yourself why. Because the community, everybody's doing it now for it. And
That's
whether
the
it was-
reason it was
Right,
established.
by the company,
It wasn't for money.
Carnival, and the ambulance had their carnival behind duties before they put the houses back there. Again, it's for the community spirit and, gathering kind of thing. That's the thing that Pam's got running, in high speed now, is the community gathering and all that stuff. It's a matter of the administration of it is burdensome.
But again, Anthony, if you took it from a business point of view, you'd close the doors.
If you're looking purely at the
Just like the
amount of-
fire department did.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And again, it's not designed to.
Especially if
Make a profit.
you, like you said, the umpteen hours you put in, if you, well, apparently you weren't paid for those hours, but if you even broke down that you didn't get paid much, if you were able to,
Probably
if it was
nothing.
Pam's event, you would have looked at the bottom line probably and said, "Oh, the heck with this."
What about instead of,
I didn't, right,
Well,
and I didn't create it
even the
for
local
that.
people,
I know that.
Right, it
Hold
was
up.
about
So-
community.
you're right.
not.
I mean,
And here's the
Why
thing,
why
I
did that
think,
happen?
I think everyone's fine with an event that breaks even.
a lot
I don't
of,
know if that's the truth, but
right, a lot of,
it became different. I think in the beginning it was. And then
a lot of
then it
local
became a dollar.
vendors, a lot of local vendors have pulled out after the first couple of years too.
No,
Oh, yeah, I could name 4 right off the bat.
couple that, quite honestly, our core of vendors have stayed. And when you talk about people that housing and taxes and this and that, quite honestly, people are staying. They're making money, they're happy. So, well, you can
you know
make
something?
there's always exceptions to that rule.
Absolutely.
But the core
But I
of
know
it,
a lot of the
people are
a
staying.
lot of the people in town who have businesses
Mhm.
that were in it will never do it again.
I do, I know exactly who those people are.
I know,
But
so
the
do I.
core of the festival.
And that's why I
has
never
done-
got in it
Has
in the
done very,
beginning, because
very
I
well.
wanted nothing. It actually helps me, to be honest with you, because it brings a lot more people
You're
into
gonna have
town.
people that feel that way, and you're gonna have people that
Right.
feel the other way. So that's a really, it's one way or the other. too.
Well,
But I think that,
What I'm thinking is, instead of trying to make this thing bigger and bigger and bigger every year, why don't we scale it back and try and cut our costs down and make it the nice, simple thing it was when it first started, when everybody just got together and walked around and said hi to each other, and we got the potatoes and the corn, and it's almost gotten too big, if you know what I mean. When it was the first year or two, it was really like a little community gathering. Now the traffic's a nightmare, everybody's got to take buses everywhere, it's just,
and I feel it's awesome.
well, that's awesome, fine and
It's just
dandy, but.
in terms of
but you-
just
you're still-
the energy that it brings
Right,
this
but
town.
this
to
was for
people.
our town in the beginning, and
Right.
it's kind of not anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, we still have our people that go, but it's like, I don't know, I think it's gotten away from what it was supposed to be when it first started. That's my opinion. But we need to make a decision on this, guys, maybe not tonight.
I know one thing, the fireworks are bar none from anywhere in the state, people. I mean, Saturday night, you can't even, if you got a dollar from every person that walked through there, you'd probably make twice as much as what's on this paper.
Got another tough decision to make, people.
Are fireworks and other contractual as well?
Yes.
Yeah. They've been the same price, $10,000. rhythm.
And I mean, you know, Al, there was a couple other things, like I spoke with Pam about, like on the car night, with all the old cars coming in, you know, you're getting up to 100, 150 cars. If those people gave $5 each, and it was a donation towards the senior center or something, you know, that would probably bring in more revenue, which I don't know how much it would help.
So there was still no entrance fee. Is that
No.
correct? There was a
Exactly right.
Was there parking?
Yeah, parking,
Parking, we made about 15, 16.
15, yeah.
But no entrance.
No, I always thought that was, in my opinion, you know, the infrastructure's so big, to fence it, to man it, to, you know, it just wasn't worth it. And it was really nice to be able to continue doing this without an entrance fee. I thought it was probably one of the golden things.
15
But, well, where I'm going with this is if we went to an outside source, it would not be, you know, if somebody was gonna really give it a try, there's gonna be a
There'll be a fee.
pretty hefty
Sure, that's
entrance
where they
fee,
make all their money.
you know?
Durham Fair gets $15 a pop.
Yeah. And you gotta wait hours to
To
get
get in there.
$15.
Yeah,
And they
you pay
still go.
$15.
Yeah.
But over the years, there's been an improvement as far as the parking, as far as traffic flow. I mean, the changes you made, not parking, crossing the field,
Yep.
like, those all made a huge difference as far as as many people in and out of there.
Still not getting us to where we gotta be, you know.
Is there a general consensus on the council that the festival, you know, continue at this point, and just, it's a matter of figuring out how to,
It's not going to be able to continue without a sponsor. We cannot
Without-
sponsor it, so there's got to be, some organization's got to come forward, be it Rotary, the Agricultural Commission, some entity in town or affiliated with the town, or a private company
yeah.
that's going to make a proposal to keep this going as an annual event.
Something like a tennis tournament or something.
Pam, in your mind, is there enough time for us to find out if there is an organization or a combination of organizations or an outside company? Because that decision, my guess, would have to be within the next, 30 days, 45 days?
Couple months, you got a couple months.
Okay.
Got enough interest out there, phone calls are already ringing and ringing and ringing and wanting to know the status of it. You already have your core, everybody's waiting for it. You know, you just need somebody that's gonna grab the reins and go.
Somebody
And,
that's
you know,
gonna
So
want-
you handled all the money before?
Mhm.
So that's the first thing, we gotta figure out who's gonna handle all the money.
Right.
Yeah, well, if it's a private company, we don't have to worry about that. They're just gonna give us a cut.
I think it's very difficult, to be quite honest with you. I personally feel to put it all together and try to figure out outside of the town, I think that might be a hard endeavor. You know, I think if you're so inclined to want to see this happen, you know, it's probably going to have to be within the department. And you're going to have to probably look at finding some part-time people to run it. Just the way it is. It's just gonna, that, to me, that's probably the smartest thing to do. You gotta remember, relationships were built throughout this festival for years. To throw somebody in there that does not have a relationship with anybody in the town, it's a tough one. You know, especially Public Works. We work together very, very well. He does extra because we have a great relationship. I do extra because we have a great relationship. You know, I mean, it's one of those things. You have to build those relationships and try to hold on to them. And, you know, that's my feeling. And, you know, I have to be frank. Some of the relationships have been breaking in the town. And that's the reason we're at this point we're at right now. And, you know, it's unfortunate because it was a community event, hands down. No dollar amount. And it became a dollar amount. And it shouldn't have. And it is one of those things at this point that it is an incredible thing. And yes, it's gotten big. And no, I don't think it should get bigger and bigger and bigger. But it is what it is. We're here. But it became.
Right, but the town can't afford to
It became
expend the
too
money
much.
on that. That's the problem. If
Sorry
it's a-
again, say it again?
The town cannot afford to be putting $50,000, $60,000 a year into salaries for
Oh,
this.
no one's talking about 50 or 60,000. But, you know, I
Well, you
wouldn't
said
go
so-
full-time. I would
well,
say there's big part.
You
could
just
do a
said
couple
before that you
part-time
needed
people.
somebody basically full-time, year-round to be able to do this.
Well, Joe's comment was, do you need full-time? Now, again.
That was a question, not a
Right,
comment.
of course. You know, so, you know, can you get that with a couple different people at part-time? Possibly. You know, but I guess what I'm saying indirectly is that you have to entrust in those that you have hired here in the town that are running the facilities. There's got to be an amount of trust that goes on that, and there's got to be an amount of optimism and good things, and.
Well, that's fine, Danny, but it is our job to watch the townspeople's money.
Of course.
And that's our job.
And it is my job also to watch the funds. That's what I'm hired for as well. And, you know, there's just been a breakdown, and it's unfortunate, and you know, if there's another option out there, like hiring a separate entity, then that's what should happen, you know?
Pam, do you think there's somebody that, one or two people that could step up from the organization or that has a relationship within the town that has a skill set that could step into the role?
I know a few that have already been involved that may very well. I don't know for a fact. Just like 2 years ago when it kind of started to break down a little bit and I took a couple steps back, we knew that Dennis was a possibility. You know, Dennis, we had already had a relationship with him. He had already been full-fledged in it as a volunteer. You know, and that's how we marched on with that ingredient. You know, and again, we pulled it off, and whatever happened during the year happened. It was, you know, it worked in the very end. But to find somebody out of the blue, I don't know. I think you'd have to know that somebody had the skill set. You know, to interview, we all know you can interview a million people until you get the person in the role. You don't really know what you have until you get them in the role. So that's a chance you take. If you have somebody that knows skill set and knows a personality, that's you're ahead of the game. So do I know a few? Do I know? You know, I do. That have already been involved, but I don't know that that's a guarantee.
I think to move this along, I think because of the timing and the festival being in August, I mean, basically you're looking at 8 months away and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think to keep it on schedule for 2014, I think we should look at paying a, consultant fee, on a 1099 to someone to run the festival and have Pam transition and help, but also continue to have the discussions of where we want to go forward after 2014 so that we have a little bit of time, that we're not rushed into it, that we can still have the conversations at the beginning of next year. Do you want to put it to an outside organization and just put feelers out to see who, or is there a group, or do you want to form a nonprofit? Is there a group of people that want to form a nonprofit and continue with it and explore avenues? But it would give us a little bit of time, and the payment for the person or persons, if it's co-people that run it, would come out of the proceeds out of the festival. And there was additional staff that was paid for from the festival already, additional office staff that was paid for out of the festival. I think that is the way to go for 2014. It's my opinion.
But those funds wouldn't be enough. You'd have to pay more than what they were paid.
What to pay for?
The funds that you see that are taken out of there now is not to the extent that if you're taking, I'm not going to work 100 hours a week. So therefore, that difference has to be somebody else.
I say we table this, we have a month or two to think about it and revisit it in a month. That's my opinion.
But is there enough time to table it for a month? It sounds, what Rose is saying, there isn't enough time.
I'm not going to panic, to be honest with you. I'm not a panicker.
there's a lot of things that need to continue to get set so that you can get things in place for that time. Pam's opinion, she says we have, a couple months to do that. I'm willing to take that time to look at it and see but it's a dialogue we need to continue to have. We can't just let it sit.
Right. It's got to be resolved in 30 days.
Pam, if you know people that you think may have an interest in continuing the festival and have the ability to actually do what you did, can you put them in touch with Mike, get it on our next agenda, maybe have them come in and talk to us, tell us what their ideas are, tell us what they think they need in terms of dollars and cents, and then we can evaluate it.
Right.
Because right now, we're not carnival organizers.
I understand.
And we're not going to get anywhere
Right.
by sitting here worrying about whether or not we've got somebody to organize and run it. We don't.
Right.
So we need that body or that group
Right.
to come forward and say, yes, they have the interest, they've got the ability, and here's the dollars it's going to take to do it,
And-
if they're
yeah.
willing to do that.
I am, but I also want to put this out on the floor too, is that if that were to pan out, it's still a rec function. So therefore, I think there has to be an agreement with the town council and the recreation commission, how we are going to move forward with this positively.
We don't have a
And
clue.
working
Somebody's got to come forward with a
And working
proposal.
together. You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm just saying because that, I don't know how else that would work. It's not going to be two independent
Are
people.
we talking
coming
about
through.
personality, or are we talking about running the festival, or like?
I
what?
think a little bit of both. I think that there was a breakdown in relationships and breakdown in communication and I have to tell you, it was very painful to stand here and talk about this for the last couple of years when there was not a lot of positive stuff coming out of anybody's mouth.
There wasn't really,
And it's not, it takes, it takes the amount of hours that you work and it makes you rethink things.
I know about hours worked
know you
and
do.
everything. I've worked 2 and 3 jobs my whole life. Some days I work 30 hours a day. I know that. That's
It
fine.
makes it easier to work together is what I'm saying.
That's fine and
The flow
dandy,
is a
but
lot better.
I was not happy with some of the financial reports that came to the council because they were very vague. And some expenditures seemed a lot more than they should have been to me, and I wanted to look into that. And I think we need to somehow get a much better system of reporting finances to the council, to be very honest with you, because this sheet of paper honestly doesn't tell me, other contractual things don't tell me anything. I mean, there's so much spent on these carnivals that somebody has to be able to keep track of all
We tried to do
this.
that. We tried to have a town liaison from the town council to sit on the Potato Fest committee, and that didn't happen. And that communication broke down.
Yep.
So it really, it's hard to guess or to listen to outside, because as we know, some people love it, some people hate it. So if you listen to the haters, then you're going to have all these questions and question marks, but quite honestly, no one's ever sat down one-on-one with my department or me and said, these are the questions I have. Can you help me with this? Rather than, carrying it on to make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger when it didn't need to be there. It was all about communication. And, it makes it very difficult to continue doing something like this without the communication that's necessary. And that's just my feeling. I'm not saying it's the answer to all, but I'm giving you my honest reply.
I think we need to move on.
All right, if there's somebody out there that's interested, we'd be very happy to
I
talk
will
to
let
them
Mike
and hear
know.
from them.
Yeah, I'll work with Pam. We'll get some, we'll keep this on the agenda. We'll bring it back for the January 7th meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pam, thanks for coming. Okay, item C, planning and zoning, 8-24 referral on the CIP 2013-2014 to TVS roof project.
Yeah, this came back, you have the correspondent, you have everything in there from P and Z. I guess the next step in sending that over to Permanent Project Building Committee.
On this, I may want to change the motion that I'll accept the Planning and Zoning Commission's favorable report, but not move it on to Permanent Project Building Committee at this time. I mean, and you know what? Just like you guys made a legal committee out of an illegal committee when I was gone, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but I knew we had issues with the last roof project with paperwork. And I happened to see on cable access that the superintendent was like coming clean, saying that he never dropped the ball on paperwork. That's the gist I got out of it.
Well, I was at that meeting.
Well, I know I knew when I left, we were fighting, trying to get some funds released. And it was our idea that the Board of Ed was supposed to be doing some paperwork. So
You're referring
then I
to-
come back and I see the superintendent saying that he didn't drop the ball. So I guess before I want to send any roof project anywhere, I want to see where we're at with these funds. And then, so maybe if somebody can answer that.
I think what you're referring to is the EDO 42.
Right.
Okay, and yes, that's been ongoing for a couple of years. Yeah, at the last meeting, he went on record, I believe, to state that it was not the Board of Ed's fault, and basically, I think, tried to state it was the town. And I was at that meeting, so I took the liberty of looking into it deeper and came across emails dated from December 3rd, 2012, to the business director, 13 items punch list, which is dated November 30th, 2012, that were never forwarded to the town nor filled out. And now we are getting somewhere, and Michael has gotten a majority of these items done.
So with stuff like that, would that be part of the building committee to move forward? Well, it didn't come to them, it came to the business agent. So instead of moving another roof project forward with the building committee, I know years past, the town council had acted as a building committee. If I go way back, when I didn't have as much gray hair, me and Councilor Atro made a rule that there wouldn't be no more flat roofs in this town, and somehow that got forgot. But I see no reason with the construction background that we have on this council why we would want to give this away, especially where apparently we don't have a full building committee at the moment either. And that's not easy to fill, because you need somebody that's, either a contractor or an engineer.
It's very specific.
It's very specific. So we have a couple of those people that are on this council already. So I don't know why we don't just act as the building committee for the next roof project. But again, maybe we wait for the full council to be here. But I don't want to send that, I don't want to send it to a building committee that isn't, is that calling me a quack?
No,
No.
there's a duck around here somewhere.
Okay. First of all, let's get one thing finished before we start another. So where are we at with, let's get the funds.
Right, the
Let's
roof,
finish one project before we send another one over. I guess that's what I'm saying.
And also, when we start these projects, start the paperwork, right? So the bid specs, so we know what is needed by the state.
Well, that's the other thing. Before I send this on, I want to see the bid specs for this roof. I think that should be brought before us. so that
The
we know
bid
what's
specs
going on.
have not gone out yet for
Well, I think that they should
phase
come here
2
before they
of
go
the high
out.
school roof.
Right, they should come
So
here
that has
before they
not
go out.
gone out yet. I think they're developed, but it hasn't been put out to the street yet, correct?
right.
For the high school.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things. If I could clarify or try to, the old roof project, where we're still getting the documentation submitted to the state, which, as of last week, I've got the stamped engineered drawings from Mr. Caputo, who worked on that. Sent it over to the Board of Ed to send to the state. I don't know that there are any other outstanding document issues so that they can wrap up and close out that project and then have it.
How much money is
audited.
left in that to close out coming back this way?
I'd have to defer to Anthony, I'm not sure on
I
that.
don't know off the top of my head.
How much money were reimbursed for that project?
Nothing, yeah.
Nothing, right? And it's what, 2-year-old project?
I believe it's close to $200,000 or so.
It's not an insignificant number.
Right,
yeah.
it's a
Now,
lot.
Several-
why, I mean,
$100,000, I think.
this should have been all taken care of. It doesn't take 2 years to do this. We know this, folks. So obviously, the ball's been dropped somewhere, and obviously, somebody needs to pick the ball up. And
Okay,
Yeah,
now, I
so-
guess my other question is, where we've got, Anthony has or the mayor has,
I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't get this to everyone, but I
maybe we can
haven't-
get that at the next meeting.
I'll
then.
get copies to
But
all of
If he
them.
has, yeah, like, I guess we can leave it at that. If, but I'm just wondering, if you get documents, does it have to come from the Board of Ed? In other words, if what he said is dated 13 months ago and never got a response from the Board of Ed, I wouldn't be sending plans up to the Board ofEd to send in to get 200,000 back. I would
This
take
right-
that list,
This right here.
answer those questions.
But there's
And
certain
send it up
things
ourselves.
on school projects that has to come from the Board of Education.
What
They have to
it's a
sign off
cooperation.
on certain documents in order to get the reimbursement. So we can't bypass them totally.
Right, that's fine, we don't want to bypass them,
Okay.
but those emails were sent to the BOE or to whatever, the business
Right.
agent. Now, did you get any of those emails at all?
No.
You
No,
won't
this
hear
is
back.
long,
Predates
long
its
before I got it.
Well, yeah, predates,
I
but
forwarded to him.
Yeah.
would you or should you get those emails?
Yeah, that's what we're working on now. And
No,
what
but I
I'm-
mean, in
Should-
the
well,
future, when they get those emails, shouldn't those emails be forwarded to the town manager?
I would think that they'd keep me, the town manager, whoever it is, in the loop and request to say, listen, if there's anything like we're doing right now, if there's anything needed to tie up loose ends from the town side, that you would do that, and they would communicate to
It
say,
states right here in this punch list, there are
Yeah.
items that the town needs
yeah.
to do. So it's obvious, this should have been a joint effort, period, the end.
Yeah.
You know what,
And I think it
can we
was,
table this till the next meeting, and then you can make copies of that and get it to the full
yeah,
council?
and just to
so-
clarify,
So we can see better what it is.
I
is
I
the
just didn't have time, I apologize.
you.
old roof project that we're talking about in terms of tying up documentation and getting the project closeout and then getting reimbursement. There is the current roof project slated for June of 2014 that hasn't yet hit the street in terms of bids. And then there is this, which is the TVES in terms of future. And I don't think at this point in time, realistically, that that you can do this project in the same time frame of trying to hit that window. We were supposed to have done this roof project for the high school remember,
Right.
the council got into this issue where we missed the window of opportunity for June.
Right.
Okay? Now we're trying to hit June of 2014. And that process, I think, is tighter.
So we need
is
to
on-
see
is
the
on
bid
point
documents for that at our next meeting,
for,
before it goes out, for the high school roof in June. It hasn't gone out, right?
no, we haven't bid that yet. We were talking about trying to get it on the street for January, February, in terms of timing to get it
Great, so
lined
we'll
up.
look at it in January and
Yeah.
see what it looks like.
Motion to table.
Well, how about if we split this motion and just take the first part that we
Accept it from,
accept the North I'd like to make a motion that the town council accepts the Planning and Zoning Commission's favorable report on the 2013-14 capital improvement plan.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Diamond. Roll call.
I just have one comment, and
Sure.
I read the remarks from Planning and Zoning, and there was a comment in here by Charlie Gunn, a member of the committee, who actually voted against it, and one of his reasons, well, his reason was that the commission is not involved in any of the input in the capital improvement plan. And so I called Carol Zebb to find out exactly what that discussion was at Planning and Zoning when this went before the 824. And the commissions, some of the commissioners, the feeling is that their job on the Planning and Zoning Commission is to look at basically that, the planning and zoning of the town, and they would like to have more input into our capital plan so that when we do an 824 referral, it's not like they're just rubber stamping it. So my suggestion would be, and I'd like you to make a note of this, Mike, is that when we get to budget talks in April and we're discussing all of our plans for the capital improvement plans, that we invite the Planning and Zoning Commission to our meetings so that when we're discussing it, if there's any input that they would like to have into the capital, that they are heard at that time. And it's not after the fact, after we approve what's on there, so that we can take their comments into consideration. And I think that will go a long way in working with this commission on this. That's all I have to say. Do it vote now.
All right, the motion still carries by Angeloni and by Counselor Diamond. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Diamond?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
All right, and then the 8-24 referral will be tabled.
Well, no, the 824 was approved.
don't have to do anything.
We don't do anything on the TVS project.
No.
Item 13, new business discussion and action. Item A, Code Red Agreement.
This kind of goes back to budget time as well. Last year, you recall that we previously used the reverse 911 company called Everbridge, and there were some serious issues during Superstorm Sandy. A lot of the messages that got out, they were duplicated, and it was a problem that a lot of the towns had. Code Red is another company that, in fact, we actually had in our budget back in, I think it was 2006 or 7, and then the state came forward and gave us the Everbridge on a free basis, so we went with that route. A lot of towns have now switched over, even though the state is still paying for Everbridge, to Code Red. It seems to be a lot more user-friendly. It also interacts with our Facebook page that we have for emergency management and our Twitter account. By posting it in one spot, it will go to all the locations simultaneously. And again, it's our recommendation that we go to this Code Red company. They will do a very extensive outreach to our citizens to get as many of them signed up as possible. And it's the same logic as the Everbridge. You can do emails, texts, and so on, and notify in many different ways.
So will citizens have to re-register even if they have
Yes.
the Everbridge system?
Yes, it will. Exactly right.
So right now, we're not paying for Everbridge.
That is correct. We paid we paid through September, so right now we have nothing. So for a storm hit tomorrow, actually I should say that, we have for the emergency piece, the state is still paying for Everbridge.
Okay.
There were two pieces to Everbridge.
Oh,
There was
okay.
the emergency piece that the state paid for free.
All right.
And there was the community access piece you could use if you wanted to say dog registrations or do this among taxes and
Right,
so on.
okay.
Under the Code Red, it's combined into one package.
Okay.
So we still have the Everbridge state, in case something happened, God forbid today, we would use that. But we would try to transition to the Code Red as of the first of the year.
So how much was the piece we had to pay for on Everbridge?
I'd be lying without checking. It was prorated, it was $2,400 for the entire year, we paid for 3 months.
Okay.
They charged us a little extra because it wasn't an exact dollar for dollar deal. I get the exact amount for you.
Well, no, I was just trying to so the 2983
Right.
that's in here is from January 1st to June 30th?
Correct.
For 6 months?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Just out of curiosity, if I may, I could not find the definition of what system minutes are. If it's 10 seconds, is that a minute? If it's a minute and 10 seconds, is that 2 minutes?
No, good point. System minutes is for the non-emergency calls.
Right.
If you send out 100 calls, each one is 10 seconds, multiply 100 times to 10 seconds, and they convert that to a minute.
Okay.
And it also ties into how long you want to talk on your message, too. So if you're very lengthy in your words, and your message going out is very long, then it eats up a lot of your minutes a lot faster. So it's the number of people you're dialing, the length of your message, it all adds together. That's the system that you're talking about.
Anthony, like Everbridge, they will keep confidential, like, all the information that they're
Yes.
given. Like, it's a secure,
Right, that's why we can't do my thought was take the Everbridge database
right,
and put it right over into
They
Code
can't.
Red, and they won't do that.
right. Okay.
That's-
Who decides what, like, in the, I guess, like, just a communication note for the town? Who decides what is put on and what isn't?
The way it worked previously, in the cases of emergencies, the emergency management director gave me the guidance what to say, and in the case of the touchy-feely part of it, it was under the guidance of the manager. So the manager, now in this case, the manager's actually wearing both hats as we speak, but the emergency management director for the town gave me the scripts for in the emergency situations, storms, things like that. And if we used it in the community access piece, that fell under the town manager.
Like out for traffic, we used it this year.
Exactly.
When they were going to do paving, just to let people know for a window if they could avoid the Route 80 corridor, which worked out well.
Okay, so if I read this contract, we get 15,000 annual Code Red minutes.
Right.
So that's the touchy-feely, because it says unlimited emergency system minutes, there's no charge.
Exactly right.
So we get 15,000 minutes per year.
Right. Of the community-based, it's dog registration month, potato festivals this weekend,
Pay your sewer tax.
pay your sewer bill, whatever, exactly.
That's a lot of minutes.
Right.
Well, he said basically that no town's ever used the whole minutes. It's out there just to have some finite number.
Right.
So none of the towns have ever exceeded that minutes.
Right, okay.
And they give you one residential database upload, wait.
So this is a three-year, basically 3.5-year contract, because it covers 3 full years beyond?
Yes.
Okay.
And John, you kind of reviewed this.
Did you review this
Oh,
contract?
yeah, I did. I don't blame them. They've limited their liability to 0. So, and it does go, any disputes go to binding arbitration, so there won't be any court suits, but it's a very, very tight agreement. They're not responsible for any of the wording, if it offends somebody or if it alarms somebody too much or whatever. But, to be honest with you, they're really our instrument, so it didn't disturb me.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that the North Branford Town Council hereby appoints Code Red as its notification provider to communicate matters of public interest and concerns, and authorizes Michael T. Paulus, Town Manager, to execute the service agreement with Code Red.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Caprio. Is there any further discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Diamond?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Item B, Vintech Service Agreement.
This had previously been reviewed by my office, and we made suggested changes, and they made the changes. This is a revised document, so.
So this is just a continuation of the agreement that we currently have? Because the current agreement expires, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, the North Branford Town Council, I would like to make a motion that the North Branford Town Council does hereby appoint Vintech as its management service provider and authorizes Michael T. Paulus, Town Manager, to execute the service agreement with Vintech Management Services.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Fawnin. Roll call?
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Diamond?
Yes?
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Item C, Hazardous Waste Recycling Committee recommendation regarding bulky waste pickup. This is something that was in the contract, which I believe we're under contract for 5 years.
Yeah, we're in year 2, right?
Right. I don't,
Did Johns come back with what the contract would be reduced if we made any revisions to the bulky waste?
No, no, and in fact, I may, attempt to contact, my understanding was that they would have a representative here at the meeting, and obviously we don't have that, and I was hoping to speak with Andy, and I believe he's out of town, so, I was like ready to talk to anybody, but my understanding is that, I guess he made his presentation to the Hazardous Waste Committee and concurred that, that they should change, your recommendation there is from them on a quarterly basis. And, for me, I don't know if you, the council, get those calls that say, weekly is an unsightly issue, that it,
I don't understand how it's an unsightly issue. If it was quarterly, there could be things out there for a month or two.
yeah.
They put it out on trash pickup day, it's picked up in a day or two, and...
That kind of reverse logic. I don't understand that point. I mean, if you put something out and it's picked up in a week, that's great. If you put something out and it's not picked up for three months and it's still out there, it's an eyesore.
I mean, since Hazardous Waste Committee really has nothing to say in regards to this because they're not the fiscal authority, I really think Andy needs to come in and make the pitch to us rather than Haz Waste Committee, because there's nothing they can do besides make their recommendation.
Plus, can we change a contract?
Well, that's
It's
what I was
already
gonna-
signed and done?
what I was going to ask, if it was part of the contract.
Right, can we change a contract in midstream, John, just because we feel like it?
Only if the parties mutually agree.
Right.
Right,
One party can't,
right.
or even demand the other party agree to changing it.
I mean, that's the whole purpose of the negotiation.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, if the council doesn't see it as an issue, I mean,
Next.
Okay. Item D, proposed installation gate for Reed's Gap Road, Northford.
Good evening again. Representative of the Regional Water Authority approached me a little while ago about, they were having issues at the end of Reed's Gap Road, where it goes into the Regional Water Authority property. Vehicles were accessing that road periodically. They're dumping material. ATVs and off-road vehicles get into the Regional Water Authority property through that portion of Reed's Gap Road. They talked about they'd like to install basically a barrier gate or fence in that portion of Reed's Gap Road. That portion of Reed's Gap Road at that point is basically, it's a wood road. That's really all it is. It's pretty much overgrown. It's narrowed down quite a bit. It's leaves. It's not used a lot. Every once in a while, there's off-road vehicles. They allow people to live there to cut wood. It's similar, and again, their request was to be able to put a gate across there. We did do that about 5 years ago on Lanes Pond Road. At that time, the Wallingford Water Authority had an issue with the same type of issue. Vehicles going through and making a mess of their property, dumping and the like, and the town at that point, in 2008, granted them permission to install a gate. The biggest stipulation would be that has to let pedestrians by in and out of there, does not restrict pedestrians from using the road, and that police, fire, public works have appropriate keys to any locking mechanism for the gate.
There's been no issues at Lanes Pond with that one?
No issues. I haven't heard of any issues from police, fire, or public works.
Well, they'll have keys, right?
Pardon?
Police, fire, they'll have keys to those gates.
They were all provided
Right.
keys to.
I mean, that's fine and dandy. They'll be able to stop pickup trucks from going in there and dumping, but they ain't gonna stop ATVs.
Well, yeah, and the dirt bikes, nothing stops them.
Right.
Even some of those off-road vehicles, they figure out how to get around.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to monitor that and prevent it.
I could see them wanting to do that to keep the pickup trucks from dumping junk.
So Kurt, the short story is you're good with this?
Well, I'm good with the concept, I've looked at it, police and fire both responded back to me, I think I put in here that we could refer to them, but I CC'd them on, they were good with it, they just, as long as they had the appropriate key or, access to the locking mechanism. What I think we need to do at this point to refer to
Town attorney?
town attorney, we had a prior town attorney at that time recommend a license agreement, and if John is in agreement with that, he could prepare a license agreement and then come back for final action by the.
So I'll make a motion to send it on to the town attorney.
Second.
What about this property owner, Hallie? Now or formerly of Hallie, I'm looking at the sketch here.
Yeah.
It looks like it
Yeah,
blocks
yeah.
off access to the Hallie lot.
Okay, we would have to provide them
With a key.
with a key as well. It's basically a wood lot that they have up there.
So it's undeveloped
It's
and,
undeveloped, there's nothing up there. I think someone hunts on it, that's about all at this point according to the Regional Water Authority, and then they cut wood.
but I think they should certainly be aware of this, and if they're planning on building a house there in 2 years or something,
Right.
I wouldn't want a key to a gate. I
Well,
wouldn't want the
they-
gate blocking my access.
Yeah, okay, and that's the thing I did miss. If the town received, the other intent was to send it off to both parties. The Liska property, she's the adjoining property, I haven't contacted.
Well, it looks like it's just beyond
And it's
hers.
Hallie, and I tried to get on the property line.
Well, the cell tower too, I know they're
But
gonna
the
want.
cell tower is before that, they're
Before.
not impacted.
As is Liska.
Oh, yeah,
It's just
okay.
before.
Liska's not impacted. It would be, actually, she'd sort of almost be a watchdog of it. I have talked to her, she came in, and she has no issues with it, but I haven't talked to Hal. And I can certainly refer to them.
We should try to get in touch with them, yeah.
Yes, at the same time, and there's an issue, I certainly report it to John, and then we'll come back. We can take a vote.
So I'll amend my motions for, to say that we're gonna send it to the town attorney and Kurt's gonna direct Kurt to contact the owner and forward their statements to the town attorney.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Counselor Rose, seconded by Counselor Vaughn. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Diamond?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Item E, actuarial valuations.
I apologize. Is there a memo in your packet?
We got the actual evaluation, I think they handed out that we had a pension.
Yeah, there's that memo?
Basically, instead of just giving you the evaluations, I felt it was just to give you a little cover overview of where we were. The plans remain pretty well funded. The only thing that's noticeable is the police funding is down to about 50%. And as Councilor Fawn, who sits on the pension committee and in fact is now chairman of the pension committee, can attest to, it's caused by two factors. Depletion of the assets caused by two of the officers taking lump sum payments, and an increase in the liability caused by the amount of wages that they're earning with all the extra duty work they're doing on the Route 80 and 139 projects. So those two factors combined resulted in a significant increase in the liability and a significant decrease in the assets, thus bringing the funding ratio to roughly about 50%. The town employee plan being a closed plan, as the people convert either from active status to retiree or ultimately die off, those numbers will continue to dwindle. The fire plan remains probably the better funded one on a per unit basis. The increase in the annual required contribution in that one is a factor of the pension multiplier. If you recall, about 3 years ago, the Fire Commission came to you and asked for a staggered increase in the multiplier. Right now, for the current fiscal year, it's $25.50 per year of credited service that a member gets per month. Next year, the 14-15 year, it's slated to go to $26 per month per year of credited service. And I understand the Fire Commission will come back and try to get it at that point amended as well. But the lion's share of the increase on the fire plan was a function of the increase in the multiplier from $25 last year to $25.50 this year. A few new members in that plan as well. For the most part, the plans are very healthy. I just figured I'd give you a little bit of an overview sheet versus just throwing the books at you. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to address them.
How many officers can still take the lump sum option?
I think it was 8.
Surprisingly, I think 2 took the...
2 took the lump sum.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, a couple have actually taken the annuity.
Right.
The annuity.
So if you recall, last year, we came before the town council recommendations from the actuary. They had an assumption previously that all the retirees would take the lump sum. And then based on a couple of years back, when a couple of the officers took the annuity, they revised it to about a 50% estimation that will take the lump sum, and that's up a little bit. And as I've mentioned at the pension committee as well, we're very fortunate, I'm very fortunate, that when the actuary says put X amount of percentage in as your annual required contribution, this town council forever has done that like gospel. If you read about other towns, East Haven, Hamden, to name a few, where their pensions are in the toilet, it's a function of if the actuary says put 10% in, they put 2% in. Oh, we'll get to it next year. It's a bad year. And those 2%, those reductions multiply and snowball throughout the year and end up having to issue pension bonds. And this town council, since day one, has always been very forthright, and whatever the actuary says, we put in the budget, and you guys have always backed it up, and it makes a big difference. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Anthony. Financial report for November 30th, 2013.
Financial report, remarkable. The current year taxes, again, continue to exceed our prior year number, about 53.6% this year compared to 53.0% last year. On a total revenue basis, 0.1%, 47% last year, 46.9% this year. On the expenditure side, we're a full percent below where we were last year at this point. So again, things are firing on all cylinders. The accounts that appear to be overexpended with the technology, that's primarily on purchase orders. It's not overexpent on a cash basis so far, as is the property and casualty insurance. When you look at the encumbrances, that's what drives those being overexpended. But no department is overexpended as of today, and nothing is out of the ordinary as of yet. And hopefully we'll continue with a relatively mild winter and save on our overtime and sand and salt, all that good stuff. Any questions on the financial report?
Thank you.
I should explain, for Councilor Diamond, I apologize. On a monthly basis, what I do is give the town, the council, an update of where we are, budget to actual. So if anything, to avoid any surprises come May or June next year, why are we overspent on this, or why is this revenue under? So at any time you have any question on particular revenue items or expenditure items, feel free to just...
Thank you.
Item G, contingency appropriation transfers for the circuit breaker replacements.
That's to pay for the issue we had with the main breaker there, right around election time, that we had that defect that we had to replace.
I'd like to make a motion that the town manager is hereby authorized to appropriate from reserve for contingency account number 101-4703-760-000 and transfer into the appropriate accounts as soon as possible for the following purpose. Replace the main circuit breaker for $4,605.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Councilor Fawnin. One question. A week or two before, remember we lost power, the UI had to run wires?
Yeah.
That didn't affect this breaker at all? Like we couldn't go after that? No, huh? Roll call?
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Councilor Angeloni?
Yes.
Councilor Caprio?
Yes.
Councilor Diamond?
Yes.
Councilor Fawnin?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Item H, tax refunds.
I'd like to move them as stated.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Fawnin. Roll call?
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Diamond?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Item 14, citizen statements and petitions. Having none. Item 15,
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to include the town manager and the town attorney.
Second.
moved by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Fawnin to move into executive session, including the town attorney and the town manager. Roll call?
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Diamond?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.